Welcome to Comic Power. I am your host, Comic Killer 72. This segment today is called Wicked Wednesday. If you didn't know, Wednesday is the new release for new comics that come out every week. These are my recommendations for the best books to pick up on Wednesday. I will also name one book to be the speculation pick of the week. Some of you guys have contacted me saying the information in the videos is excellent, but you'd like to see better quality overall in the presentation. And I've done some tweaks. I'm using Apple iMovie software, which is built into my computer. I have to turn it into a QuickTime video as an acceptable format on YouTube. I was using the default web stream, which is about 12 frames per second in medium quality stereo. I switched it to the CD-ROM format, which is 15 frames per second in full quality stereo. So please let me know if you see an improvement in the way these videos look. Just remember, don't compare me to other video channels that have 500,000 subscribers or 1 million subscribers. They've already made enough money where they can take that and put it back into the channel. I only have about 550 subscribers, so I'm going to use what I got for right now until the channel gets bigger and I can reinvest the money back into making better looking videos. With that being said, let's get started with New Comic Day. First up from DC Comics is Action Comics number 972. This is the finale of the Men of Steel story arc, in which Lex Luthor was put on trial, but Superman has to wind up saving him. To make sense of this story arc, you have to go back and get issue 967 for any of this to make any sense. Dan Jurgens is the writer, and he's having an excellent run on the Supes Action title. Next up is JLA Killer Frost Rebirth number 1. This is a one-shot to give you some more background on this character. She's a villain that is just being released from the Suicide Squad and out on parole. Of course, something big has to happen. It would be a pretty boring story if she just went home and ate pizza. DC has given one-shots to characters like Vixen and the Ray and other D-listers to see if they'll work. If used correctly, I think the character could be pretty major. Her first appearance is in Firestorm number 3 back in 1978, shown here. Next up is Batman 66 meets Wonder Woman 77 number 1. If you're too young to remember, Batman starred in a campy show back in the 60s that starred Adam West as the key character. Wonder Woman also had a TV show in the 1970s played by the lovely Linda Carter. And let's just say she's pretty easy on the eyes. This is a novelty, sure, but it's a cool novelty to have if you enjoyed those TV shows back in the day. And who didn't? Here's what Adam West looks like today, but back in the day, you could say he was a hunk that the ladies would love. The storyline involves Ra's al Ghul hiring Catwoman to steal something for him. I shouldn't have to sell you on this. It sells itself. Next up, let's see what Marvel is up to. And let me break out my Consuelo meme because there's a lot of stuff I just have to say no to. Marvel is really testing my patience. First up to say no to is Avengers number 1.mu. There's no reason for this story. No one asked for it, but Marvel's going to give it to you anyway because monsters are supposed to be hot this year. And on top of that, instead of the regular $4 cover price, they want $5. This is future dollar being crap. Please avoid it. Next up to say no to is Civil War II, The Oath number 1. Don't get me wrong, I love Iron Man and I absolutely love Captain Marvel as characters, but Marvel is stretching this out. This is a summer crossover. It should have been completed a long time ago. They're just stretching it out for more money. Next up to say no to is Spider-Man Deadpool number 1.mu. I love the mix of these two characters together, and there might be a few chuckles in here, but this is just a cash grab and it's not worth your $5. There are more books that are more worthy this week. And the last to say no to is Deadpool number 25. This is the conclusion of the Deadpool 2099 storyline. It makes no sense whatsoever. They're raping the character at this point. They're trying to charge you $6 for it. Just stay away. Okay, my rant is over. Now let's get to what I do like about Marvel this week. And that's going to be Thanos number 3, where he takes on the entire Imperial Guard. Yes, Marvel, give me more of this. More of this type of stuff. Even though he's the big bad of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we still don't know that much about Thanos and what makes him tick. He's a very interesting character. I want more of this. Next up is the Hulk number 2. Issue 1 came out on December 28th. I didn't do a video that week. I did the top 10 comics of 2016. This is the Jennifer Walters She-Hulk character, but they're just dropping the she and making her the Hulk. That was a very well executed cover as well. This character is celebrating her 37th year in comics. She made her debut back in comics in 1980 in the Savage She-Hulk number 1. She is the cousin cousin of Bruce Banner. I'm curious to see where they go with this character in the current continuity. Next up is Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur number 15. This is the first meeting between these characters, and it makes sense they should meet. They're two African-American female superheroes, and they both have their own title. Riri Williams, aka Iron Heart, is about 7 years older than Luana Lafayette, aka Moon Girl, but they're both new at doing the superhero thing. Expect big things from these characters for a long time to come. Animated series? Probably yes. Next up is Ghost Rider number 3, and this has got to be one of the most cool covers I've seen this year so far, proving you don't have to spend a gazillion dollars on a variant to get a cool cover. It's guest starring the totally awesome Hulk, Silk, and Laura Kinney, the X-23, now known as the new Wolverine. There's a variant for this shown here, but let's get serious. The regular cover looks better, so that's what you should be buying. Next up is the Black Panther number 10. This isn't just a superhero comic, it's a political thriller. In this issue, we get the return of Shuri, Black Panther's sister. This is a very important character that at one point in the continuity of Black Panther, Shuri actually held the title of Black Panther, the only woman to ever do so. Next up is the speculation pick of the week. And that's going to be Totally Awesome Hulk number 15. And what Marvel has done here is they have assembled their whole team of their most prominent Asian characters. Is this diversity? Is this pandering, or is it good business, or is it all three? The Asian market is incredibly huge for superhero movies, so to see Asian characters depicted and Marvel, the biggest comic publisher in the world, in a positive light as heroes, that's a very positive step. The Totally Awesome Hulk, also known as Amadeus Cho, is Korean American. Cindy Moon, aka Silk, is also Korean American. Miss Marvel, aka Kamala Khan, is Pakistani American, and Shang-Chi, the master of Kung Fu, is Chinese. It's no secret that the Koreas and China are big box office for superhero movies, and Disney, which owns Marvel, they want a piece of that. So pander away, baby. But look at this cover though, it looks completely crazy good. I got no tips about who they're going to be fighting in here, but it would make sense for it to be the Mandarin, who is also an Asian character. So why can't you have Asian heroes and an Asian villain and just do the whole thing Asian? Sounds like a good idea to me. Next up is our report on independent comics and small publishers. First up is The Dregs #1 from Black Mass Studios. They had a breakout hit with We Can Never Go Home in 2015. They had a lot of delays in shipping issues in 2016. So we'll see if 2017 can get back on track for this small publisher. People love the comics. It's just the shipping delays got on everybody's nerves last year and hurt their momentum. Next up is Joyride #9 from Boom Studios. This was only supposed to be a 5-part miniseries, but it was so successful and so well received, they turned it into an ongoing series at Boom. It's the story of 3 teens and their outer space adventures. Next up is Skyborn #3. This is part 3 of a 5-part miniseries. It is written and drawn by Frank Cho, who's one of my favorite artists. It's his rendition of the King Arthur story, but told in modern times. Next up is Hillbilly #5 from Albatross Funny Books. #1 made my list of top 10 comics of 2016. I think you enjoy this horror tale taking place in the hills of Appalachia. Retailers under-ordered this, so it would cost you about $20 to get a copy. Hopefully they will have a trade paperback that'll come out soon with the first 4 issues, so you can catch up. Next up is Slayer Repentless #1 from Dark Horse Comics. This is a tie-in with the thrash metal band Slayer's new music video. Shown here is issue 1 of a 3-part miniseries doing just that. If you love thrash metal back in the 80s, then you definitely love Slayer. They're still around and they're still kicking ass on stage. Next up is Animosity: The Rise #1. This is the origin story for this breakout hit of 2016. I named Animosity #1 one of my top 10 favorites of the year. This will explain how the animals came awake and started talking and started the plot to take down humans as their oppressors. If you played the expensive Variant game, they have an issue of this where only 200 copies exist. It's selling for about $200. Then there's a black and white version of this, which is limited to just 50 copies and is going for about $500. Those prices are insane. There's no way I'm spending that type of money on this. Boom Studios is having a big week, so let's go back to them one more time with Lady Castle #1. I have to admit though, on the surface of it, This looks like Image Comics' Rat Queens, being that you have a mixed ethnic group of female leads in a medieval setting. I'm curious to see how they're going to separate themselves from that other franchise without looking like it's just a copy of it. Speaking of Image, let's see what they are up to. They always bring the pain. First up is Dante, which is a one-shot. It's the story of an assassin who is covered by tattoos due to a supernatural curse, and he's also lost his family and he has to find them. That's a lot to cover in one issue. Let's see how they handle it. Next up is Loose Ends #1, which is written by Jason Latour, and he's one half of the team that works on Southern Bastards, the critically acclaimed Eisner-winning story. Latour has his roots in Carolina, so he writes great stories from that source geography. This is described as a slow-cooked Southern crime romance, and it's part 1 of a 4-part miniseries. If you love Southern Bastards, you should be picking this up too. Next up is Saga #42. This series is the winner of countless Eisner Awards, critical acclaim. It's one of Image's strongest properties after The Walking Dead and Spawn. They sell this comic with no gimmick or hype, and it comes out on time every month. Everyone loves this space opera. It's written by Brian K. Vaughan and drawn by Fiona Staples. It's just excellent up and down. Issue 42 is the conclusion of a major story arc. Next up is Surgeon X #5. This is one of the most overlooked books in the industry. It takes place in England 30 years in the future, where there's some new diseases that are resistant to antibiotics. But Surgeon X is saving people by using experimental procedures and drugs not approved by the government. This is pretty good and it's getting ignored. Next up is Reborn #1, which is going to a 4th print. This is the team up of Mark Millar and Greg Capullo, 2 heavyweights in the comic book business. Issues #2 and 3 are also going to reprints, and we also get the debut of issue #4, first print this week. If you missed it so far, this is one of those projects that you buy the trade paperback when it gets to that point. Before we close, let's see what Valiant is up to, and that's going to be Generation Zero, the trade paperback, which collects the first 4 issues of their series. They are superpowered teens on the run, but they help out other teens wherever they can. Think of it as New Mutants meets the A-Team. Next up is Divinity III The Stalinverse #2. This is an alternative reality where the Soviet Union has won the Cold War, is occupying the United States, and the Valiant heroes Bloodshot, Shadow Man, and Exo Man of War are enforcers for the Soviet Empire. This is beyond comics. This is top flight science fiction that you should be reading. Last but not least is Bloodshot USA #4. This is the conclusion of this awesome miniseries. Jeff Lemire, who's most famous for Descender, is writing this, and he is killing it. All of the developments in this story come out of Bloodshot #14 from June 2016, which was on my top 10 list of the year, obviously. There will be a Bloodshot movie, so you should be getting his keys now. That's about it for today. Thank you for watching Wicked Wednesday, where I review all the new comic books for a new comic day. Be sure to follow my blog at comicpower.net. On social media, follow me at facebook.com/comicpower.net and comicpower-universe.tumblr.com. And don't forget twitter.com/comicpowersub. I also sell comics on eBay at this link. This is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power saying bye-bye. And don't forget to share this video, click on subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and tell everyone you know about this channel to help it grow. Thank you for your support.